almost all the Upanishads, I should say, some mantras are devoted for you and me to rise in our own goodness. Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara has not much to do with moksha. It is about making us more value based. Somewhere else it is about shama, somewhere else it is about dhamma, mind control, control of our senses. Somewhere else it is about daya, how we may be more compassionate towards fellow beings who may be suffering in some way. Are we, are we to close our eyes or look at them with sympathy and do our bit for helping them out? Do our bit to serve them. The same Vivekananda who went around talking about non-duality, saying God and man are one, also declared in the loudest voice possible that our spiritual unfoldment will be speeded up if we serve fellow human beings. Along with Atmanaha Mokshaya, for one's own liberation, he said, he added, Jagad Hitaya cha, especially to the sannyasi disciples of his in the Ramakrishna mission. Swami Vivekananda gave this twofold goal. Strive towards your liberation and at the same time work very sincerely for the uplift of the world. That means other people. So the portion which we will briefly see in this webinar 285 is from the 7th chapter of the Chāndogya Upanishad, from the Sāma Veda, like Kena Upanishad. Here is Chāndogya, which also is from Sāma Veda. And there are different teachers and disciples coming on the stage in the vast expanse of 8 chapters of this Chāndogya Upanishad. And we take a look at the 7th chapter, Saptamaha Adhyayaha. The chapter opens with Narada approaching Sanat-Kumāra. Narada is a good old Devarshi. He has been around for a long time apparently, and presumably he is therefore quite grown up in physical years and has vast knowledge of all subjects. And yet he honestly confesses. Aham shochami, he says. I have sorrow. I've heard that those who have self-knowledge are free from sorrow. I am not one in that category. I still have sorrow. Tarati shokam atmavit, I have heard. One who knows the Atma crosses sorrow, whereas I have not crossed sorrow yet. Honest confession of a very well-known, very preeminent sage who has free access, who goes to any loka, swarga above, earth in the middle, patala in the nether worlds. Nowhere anybody stops him. Devarshi Nārada had such eminent position among the devas, among the rishis. But imagine his saying, Aham shochami, I have sorrow. And then Sanat-Kumāra, the ever young sage, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanat, and Sanatana are supposed to be 4 boys. They remain boys all the time. Though they remain boys, please don't imagine they are boyish or childish. Their wisdom keeps them way above a whole lot of elderly people also. No wonder here you have a scenario which is something like you have all read the Dhyana shlokas of Dakshinamurti Stotra. Vruddha Shishyaha Gurur Yuva. The disciples are old, white hair or hair has fallen off. And the Guru, in this very, very unusual scenario of Dakshinamurti Stotra, the Guru Dakshinamurti is Yuva, ever young. Ordinarily, everywhere, the teachers are very elderly, and young brahmacharis and brahmacharinis come to the teachers to study. But in Dakshinamurti's case, the four rishis, not Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanat, or Sanatana, but some other four rishis are shown typically in various representations. Those four rishis sitting around Dakshinamurti are pretty old. And Dakshinamurti, that is a form of Lord Shiva, is so youthful. Therefore, the Dhyana Shloka says, Chitram Vatataror Mule Vruddha Shishya Gurur Yuva Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam Shishyastu Chinna Samshaya. The disciples have their doubts cut asunder. It is so wonderful, says that shloka. Here too, in Chāndogya Upanishad chapter 7, the teacher Sanat-Kumāra is ever young, and Devarshi Nārada, presumably, is pretty old. So, Sanat-Kumāra sees that Narada has to be taken through a systematic thought development, and at the right time, he has to be lifted to the height of self-knowledge. Before I talk to him about transcendence of the personality, I must satisfy his urge, his need, his emotional appetite for the personality's growth. All said and done, a whole lot of us who may be into Vedanta for decades are very concerned with how we are performing, how our image is in the society, our image in our own eyes, are we not? So this attachment to the personality description doesn't go so easily. Therefore, very sympathetically, once someone asked Swami Satya Sai Baba, why do you do all these miracles, bringing out something from nowhere, bringing out that sacred ash, vibhuti, from your hands and giving everybody, and curing people, appearing suddenly at some distant place on the earth and rescuing somebody from some dangerous scenario, curing somebody. He did many things. Large number of people were drawn to him through miracles, but philosophers went and asked him, Swami, you should be teaching some high principles of spirituality. What is all this miracles? They tickle us, they do mean a lot to us at a certain point of time. Later on, they don't end our sorrow. The philosophers asked, and smilingly Satya Sai Baba said, these miracles that I perform are like chocolates with which someone attracts children. And once children are attracted, they want chocolates, they come near, we give them one or two chocolates, then say, sit down, I'll give you more, but listen. Then you teach them something truly valuable. He said about himself, I perform miracles to attract people. My main job begins afterwards. My main job is to help them truly grow spiritually, not just get cured from this ailment, not just get freed from some financial trouble, not all those things. My main job begins once they have come near me and begin to listen to me. So, all over Sanatana Dharma, in all the scriptures, we have these twofold teachings. Dharma, where you and I become better human beings. Better also means stronger, more effective. We, we carry weight, or as the saying goes, what is that? So we become a force to reckon. Pujya Swami Chinmayananda used to say this. When you and I do sadhana daily, in a short duration of time, we'll see the difference. We become a force to reckon. People will not take us so lightly as they did before. Thanks to our sadhana, They get the vibrations. This lady is not as we saw her last year. There is some change in her. This man is now powerful. You can't talk lightly about him in front of him or away from him. You find that. So to become a force to reckon, there are karma and upasanas. So Sanat-Kumāra begins, and as we said in the synopsis or in the title itself in the second line, Sanat-Kumāra shows 15 ways or 15 stages of self-improvement. First of all, Nama. Nama is a superficial knowledge of number of subjects which gives you a certain self-esteem. You can impress a number of people who may not know as much as you do, but people who know something deeper about those very subjects will not respect you so easily. But you impress thousands of people until you meet people who are in your own field who are more excellent. So by nama is meant namesake, it means, don't we say for namesake, but even someone who is namesake doctor, namesake engineer has certain position compared with someone who doesn't have any idea. So Sanat Kumara on one hand tells Narada, the knowledge you have of numerous subjects is just in name, not much. I don't value it much. On the other, Sanat Kumara has this to say in the very first khanda, whoever does upāsana of nama becomes powerful, even with just the superficial knowledge. Compared with someone who doesn't even have that, you are valued. So there is a praise in all the 15 sections of this seventh chapter of Chāndogya Upanishad, where there are some 26 sections. 15 out of 26 sections are about self-improvement. Have nama, that is also good in a way, but then go further, walk. So Vak and Manaha, Sankalpa and Chitta, Dhyana and Vijnanam, followed by Balam Annam, Apaha Tejaha, Akashaha, Smaraha, Asha and Pranaha. Quickly I mentioned 15 of them, and they look a little puzzling to us in this 21st century because we don't know a number of Vedic words, Vedic terminologies these days so well. We are in a very different civilization. We have been so influenced by the West. Our roots have been a bit shaken or quite a lot shaken. We don't know our own Sanatana Dharma so much. Therefore, some of the descriptions here look a bit unclear to us. That is where the commentaries by Adi Shankaracharya, and then, of course, in English and other languages, commentaries by good scholars come to our rescue. Shankaracharya gives a traditional interpretation for all these 15 forms of upasana. These are all upasanas. For example, even about nama, it is said, Yaha nama brahma iti upaste. Even superficial knowledge is valuable to that person. He goes for them with the feeling, I will do this and I will rise to certain heights. So he values it. You may not value it. That is a different story. He sincerely works towards getting degrees after degrees, getting certain qualifications that make him get into some jobs, occupy some chairs, and so on. So I understand it that way. But the key word is upaste. Do upasana. In Kali Yuga, in our times, everybody reads, hears everything, but hardly anybody practices anything. It is said in this Kali Yuga there are countless lip Vedantins. They talk, they write articles, they participate in conferences, submit papers. But in their personal life, in their life which is not so public, in their private life, do they sit down and not for any lecture or some article, but for their own spiritual growth? Do they dive to the depths of subjects that they are learning? They are very few as you can perhaps count on the hand with your fingers. Therefore, Sanat-Kumāra makes a fervent appeal to Narada, and through Narada, he is telling all of us, don't remain lip Vedantins. If you have deeply appreciated something, make it part of your daily spiritual endeavors. So he talks about Vak, and Vak is, see, if you see Shankara's commentary, what happens is Shankaracharya takes the context of Vedic studies. Unless you pronounce Veda mantras well, how will you ever become a Vedic scholar? Unless you pronounce properly, unless you hear properly from the Guru, the different sounds, the different intonations. As you know, in Vedic mantras, there is raising and lowering also. Prachodayat, somewhere lengthening a certain vowel also. So you must hear well, and then you must pronounce well, and then the Veda mantras can do certain magic upon you. So he says, Vagabhave adhyayana abhavaha. In Shankara Bhashya, there is a punchline. Unless you pronounce the mantras of Vedas properly, your Veda adhyayana, your study of Vedas is seriously hampered. Now I look at it as I am with all of you in the 21st century. I look at this as a very good advice in mastering any subject. To master any subject thoroughly, we must be hearing rightly from our teachers. We must ourselves also know all the technical terms. We must pronounce those technical terms properly for advancing our own knowledge and for fruitful and effective discussions with colleagues. If we make terrible mistakes in mentioning a word itself, then what will our colleague understand? He's wanted to say something, but he understands something else. Therefore, the place of speech, the place of communication cannot be underestimated in self improvement. A lot of misunderstanding at offices, at homes, between parents and children, between spouses. A lot of misunderstanding happens because people don't communicate properly. In communication, the place of right speech, the right word, pronounced rightly at the right time is very necessary. So, Sanat Kumara says, here onward, starting today, Narada, be more watchful about your speech. There is a lot of literature in today's psychology also. Speak as you have in your mind and do as you speak. Let your speech not be misleading. Unnecessarily do not exaggerate. Unnecessarily do not understate anything also. If you take extreme care in your speech, in day-to-day interactions, transactions, that will make you so trustworthy. People will say, if she has said it, it has to be so. How many of us enjoy such trust in the circles that are around us? We many times speak without much precision. Later on, we say, oh, sorry, yeah, that day, what I meant was, and we want to clarify. Why don't you at the first time itself speak rightly? Don't confuse them. Say it in plainest terms. Thus, Vak, which is talked of in Chāndogya Upanishad, has an eternal relevance. You and I, human beings, are endowed with the ability to speak. No animal speaks any of our languages. Some chimpanzees or some parrots, yeah, some parrots and some creatures are taught to speak some simple sentences. That doesn't amount to much, that doesn't add up to much. But you and I, human beings, wow. Among us, there are some who know four, five, seven, six, eight languages. Among us, there are some who are enriched or endowed with such vocabulary. And then the spiritual point here is more than vocabulary, it should be intellectual honesty. You should be able to verbalize, give expression to your thought in the most precise terms. So let me say once more, in all the 15 components, all of which I may not try to cover, it's quite a lot. In all these 15 forms of upasanas, there is a falashruti. For example, having talked about vow, there is second mantra in that section. Sayo vacham brahma iti upaste. If you and I give true importance to how we speak, what we say, that becomes upasana. Upasana is like that. When you take a piece of stone and look at it as Shivalinga and do a puja, that is called upasana, Shiva upasana. In somebody else's eyes, it may be just a piece of stone. But in your eyes, it is Shivalinga. Now in 3 days, in 3 days you have Shivaratri. All over the world, large numbers of Hindus worship Shivalinga. And that Shivalinga might not be God in some other's eyes, but Nikrishta Vastuni Utkrishta Buddhi Upasanam goes the definition. What could be a mere stone is the almighty God principle called Shiva for the Shiva Bhakta. Like that, speech is undervalued, neglected, ignored by a lot of people. Every day they say a few lies, and even if you point out to them, you said a lie. All right, why do you make a big issue of it? Sometimes in life, you and I have to tell a couple of lies. Come on, let's move ahead. They take it so lightly. You must not tell lies. Speak the truth. So, truth and speak it rightly. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat satyam apriyam. Priyam cha anna anritam bruyat, esha dharma sanatana. So one we must speak what is true, what is pleasant, what is beneficial to others as well as ourselves. Oh, it's so difficult. Don't say it is difficult. Work on it. You work on learning computers. You work on learning so many subjects for your career advancement. Please learn honest, clear, precise, neither exaggerated nor understated ways of speaking or writing. See how your personality becomes so trustworthy. You will be somebody in the eyes of people. You will become a force to reckon if you just work on effective speaking, not flowery speaking. Spirituality emphasizes on certain integrity behind whatever you speak. Therefore, sayohava vacham brahmeti upaste. That person yatha kamacharo bhavati. Kamachara means wherever he wishes to go, he may go and people will respect him and he becomes so better than before. Narada is excited, though he came for moksha-shāstra, which would put all sorrow to end. Certain insights that Sanat-Kumāra shares with him in the domain of self-improvement fascinate him a lot. Narada asks, "This is so wonderful. I never thought so much about the place of speech, right speech, honest speech, true speech, pleasing and beneficial speech. I never thought so much. Is there something even superior to speech?" The question at the end of the second section is Vacho Bhuyaha Astiva. Is there something higher? And Sanat Kumara, Upanishads have a style. In every paragraph, that pattern continues. Is there something superior to speech? And he says, yes, mind is superior to speech. At the end of that section 3, Is there something superior to the mind? Yes. Sankalpa, resolve, is superior. Is there something superior to resolve? Yes. Chittam is certain remembering what you have studied before, helps you take better resolve, make better resolutions. So, how is mind said to be even better than merely focusing on speech? First, it appears, what is this? But if you think about it, before you speak, suppose you think a little. You see, if I speak, if I say this, what will be the effect? If I say that, what will be the effect? Without right thinking, how can right speech come out? Therefore, manaha, in the mind, pondering what is the best way to say this, what is the best way to convey this news, and so on. Therefore, second, first was nama, second was vak, third one is manaha, that is thinking or the operation of antakarana. We call it antakarana. And in the antakarana, essentially, if to quote Shankaracharya, he says, mind is superior to speech because it is as though in your hands you have two small fruits in your hands, and both of them are together. Likewise, mind and speech are together. Mind influences speech, speech influences the mind. Therefore, your thinking should be clear before your speech gets clear. So work on thinking. Apply it to Vedic studies, apply it to even mundane transactions. And there too, he says, whoever works on his own mind and its functioning, noble thoughts, noble emotions. Pujya Swami Chinmayananda used to say, have less number of thoughts, let the number of thoughts reduce and the quality of thoughts increase. Many a time it is the opposite with a whole lot of people. Too many thoughts and vulgar thoughts, useless thoughts, thoughts that waste our energy, thoughts which leave us weakened. Alas, instead have 20% of the number of thoughts, but a large percentage of the thoughts that you possess are noble, are truth based, are sensible, are fact based. Therefore, manaha and vak are interdependent. As you speak better, your position rises. And as your position rises, you face more challenges. Then you have to think even more clearly. If you are in responsible positions, you need to think before you talk. Look before you leap. There is a saying. If you hurriedly leap, you may fall into a pit. So Narada asks, this is exciting. If we are more attentive to how we speak, how we think, what I am thinking at this moment, if there is some intelligence overseeing my own thinking and feeling, how wonderful it would be. Is there something superior even to the mind, that is, even to thinking? And Sanat-Kumāra says, yes, yes, there is something called Sankalpa. And Sankalpa is the sort of operation of intelligence within us that decides, okay, let me think more about this. Some other time in some useless matter, intelligence says to us, I should not waste any more time thinking about this. See, one is thinking correctly and clearly, but before that stage, choosing the topic to think about, and choosing involves resolving. I go for this. I don't want to waste time on other topics now. Let me think on this. Therefore, Acharya Shankara says, Kartavya Akartavya Vishaya Vibhagena Samarthanam. This needs to be taken up, kartavya. That doesn't need to be taken up. Today, WhatsApp has begun to so much influence the life of millions and millions. I must have told you. Somebody joked. Olden days, the human species was called Homo sapiens. Today, the human species may be called Homo WhatsAppians. Everybody is into WhatsApp. And WhatsApp is a good example of how so much good and bad both come towards us. Unless we have good sankalpa shakti, good ability to resolve and stay with our resolution or resolve, I tell you, the media, including WhatsApp, can certainly damage our life. So much comes, and sometimes because of a little entertainment, we just go on watching it, go on listening to some audio, only to be further made weak. We must resolve this is waste of time. I have better things to do than just because somebody has sent a 5 minutes, 9 minutes video. Look at this dance, look at this what's happening somewhere. Why am I interested in all this? Keep away. And then there are some video, some audio, some text which has a beautiful message. Other day there was a message which went around. I suppose it was true. WhatsApp, sometimes we don't know whether something was true or something put together by somebody. But to tell in a few sentences, there was a fairly long text message. How Sundar Pichai occupied first class seat in some aeroplane, San Francisco to New York maybe, and looking at his very simple dress, some t-shirt and some jeans, looking at the way he sat with no air about him, looking at how within a short while after the plane started moving, he takes out a small laptop and works. Hey, you are in first class. Come on, ask for some drinks, enjoy, show off a little of your wealth, somebody would say. But Sundar Pichai was like a common man. And that episode that WhatsApp says, Jessica, that was the name given to the air hostess, very senior, very experienced lady. But even she thinks, without recognizing Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, she thinks that, who is this? I think this fellow has sat on a first class chair in our plane by mistake. I better double check. And she first asks a junior. The junior says, we verified this man's ticket, madam. He has a valid ticket, etc. Still, Jessica doubts. Okay, towards the end of that long narration, it comes out that Sundar Pichai realizes that the senior air hostess is doubting my credentials, wants to verify, and so on. But rather than getting annoyed or irritated, he speaks with great calmness and says to her, oh, this happens to me here and there. That's all right. Uh, this is very common, no problem. I'm not disturbed by your doubting my, whether I bought a ticket properly or somehow all that. So such things, yes. Our sankalpa would encourage us. Read this once more and look at yourself. Do you pretend when you are small? Do you pretend to be big? Or when you are big, do you photo some complex, mental complex, not assert in the right place? Are you true to yourself? So proper sankalpa leads to proper thoughts, that leads to proper speaking. All this is personality improvement. Therefore, I to take the liberty rather than some other religious benefits. The 15 factors that Sanat-Kumāra mentions in his instructions to Narada are all about our becoming better, effective people. In the 90s, when I lived in California, the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey made a great impact on me. For 25 years, I have been quoting it. Recently, I have started living it also. I should have started living it straight away, but I was using it in my lectures to have some self-deprecating humor here. Anyway, look at what Stephen Covey said. 7 habits of effective people. And he talks about how begin with end in mind, be proactive, seek to understand others rather than demanding that they understand you. Think win-win, synergize, sharpen the saw. Those 7 habits of late Mr. Covey are eternally valid. Even now, I recommend to youngsters who come to me, read that book and so on. Here is Sanat-Kumāra, the 15 habits of highly effective people. Much before the Western literature on lot of motivation came, in the scriptures of Hinduism, there have been terrific guidance, wonderful guidance on, I must add, holistic growth of ours. Holistic, not just about making more money or getting famous quickly, but to be an excellent human being and also do our duties with greater effectiveness. So, going a bit quickly, if beyond Sankalpa, there is Chitta. So, what is this Chitta? Sankalpa is resolving. Chitta is, if we can see, sometimes a crisp definition by Adi Shankaracharya helps a lot. Sankalpa is, let me see, it's difficult. Sankalpa is when, sorry, Chitta. Chitta is, I should go. Yes. Chitta is a certain level of expression of intelligence. We talked of Sankalpa, resolve. This is a good one to pursue. And then the mind gets busy with that pursuit. Before the mind gets busy with the pursuit proper, there is a certain resolve. Let me pursue this. This seems to be valuable. See, various options. I gave the example of WhatsApp. We decide, let me delete this. And about some other message, for which I gave the example of the gentle and dignified and humble, unassuming behavior of Sundar Pichai. I gave that as the example. Before you think more, read it second time, etc., you first resolve that this is a good one. And chitta in this present context is that component of intelligence which rises at the right time and as though whispering inside you. Shankaracharya says, Prapta Kala Anurupa Bodhavatvam Chittam Chetayitratvam. Prapta Kala Anurupa Bodhaitratvam. Something deep inside us says, as though nudges, as though pushes us. This needs to be read again. Don't delete it. Don't delete it. And then on a little outer level, we decide, yes, I'm not going to delete it. I mark it, I put a star against it. There are ways and means by which sometimes when we don't have time, we can deliberate on it later, right? So it is the spark of intelligence. And what is beautifully said by Sri Shankaracharya is to be noticed, Prapta Kala. If we later say, hey, I should not have deleted it, now you may not find it. And if you think of choosing right ones before, that also is not helpful. At the time when that message is in front of you, you read 2 lines and then you say, hey, this is valuable. Prapta Kala Anurupa Bodhavatritvam. And Narada thoroughly enjoys this kind of what you call going deeper and deeper. Layer by layer, human personality is analyzed, and Sanat-Kumāra seems to be saying to all of us, hey, you may have good degrees, maybe many people respect you, but are you sure you have really blossomed on different levels of your being? Many of us would say, I don't know. Nowadays I have become very mechanical. I just do whatever worked last time. And sometimes what worked last time doesn't work this time. Some factors have changed, scenarios have changed. Then we realize Sanat-Kumāra is so true, for he exposes the multiple levels of our existence. All these are in us. So you find after Chitta, when Narada very politely says, is there something greater than Chitta? Sanat Kumara says, Dhyanam, meditation. When you take a certain subject, certain matter which is bothering you, and stay focused on it, you deliberate on a certain matter. For example, let me give a worldly example. You are running an organization. Rather than just going to work, sitting in your, maybe you are a CEO, sitting in your cabin and doing routine things and doing things that you always did, take a short break. Take a break with others or alone and go to a deep analysis of how far has my organization done well so far, and what are the areas where we have to see the matter with fresh eyes. So for that, as you know, some companies take all their senior executives out far away from their main city of operation, some natural place of natural beauty. And I have heard, I have not participated in such workshops. Executives do some painting, sing, they do some fishing, etc. Just to, you know, unclutter their mind. And then they contemplate upon how we have been doing, what is the step ahead, and so on. Shankaracharya says, Dhyana is, um, uh, what is Dhyana? Oh, I'm reading the original mantra. We should read the Shankara Bhashya for you. Dhyanam nama shastrokta devata alambaneshu achalaha bhinna jatiyaihi anantaritaha pratyaya santanaha ekagrata iti yam ahu. Beautiful definition. Simple one word, ekagrata. How many of us develop or further nourish the ability to stay focused? We are tossed about by events of the day. We are just pulled and pushed by so many things that happen around us. And then we hardly meditate. We hardly stay focused on a topic of great importance. We do what they call in management more of firefighting. We see, oh, some smoke is coming there, rush and put out the fire. By then, you see smoke in another corner of the place. Rush there. All the time, putting out fire here, putting out fire there. When will you do some fresh thinking on very essential parts? So, to use the that kind of mundane context, it is bhinna jatiyaihi anantarita. Don't be distracted, diverted by things other than this main topic. Stay on this main topic and discuss personal growth or organization's growth, whichever. Take it and don't say, I have 5 minutes. Be ready to give any length of time for it. Reorganize your life in that fashion. That is of great importance. So Shankaracharya gives a very uh, relevant to religion, that kind of definition. Shastras say meditate on this Devata. Shivaratri is coming. Meditate on Shiva, and Shastra scriptures give a description of Shiva, the three-eyed Lord with the Trishula in hand, Ganga coming from his head, and so on. So bear that in mind and focus on that Devata Vishesha. And Shankaracharya says, one who does dhyana becomes so powerful. Others bow down before him or her. So all this praise is given. Like that, friends, in this section, Yet another vijnanam. In order to meditate well, you must have some prior knowledge of what to meditate on, how to go about meditation. The knowing empowers sustained thinking. Sustained thinking opens up everything and gives you fresh knowledge. So, knowledge and sustained dwelling on that support each other. So, Vijnanam, and then there is Balam. I'll say this and conclude my presentation. There are two factors among the 15 talked about by Sanat-Kumāra for self-improvement. And if we tend to think that all this will be very, very spiritual stuff, nothing on the physical plane. No, he says you should have physical strength, you should have stamina, you should have certain energy. Who can deny? And for that energy, you should eat right food. Today, there is increased awareness all over the world that many of our diseases, many of our, feeling weak or feeling or lacking in motivation, etc., are much related to the food we eat. Healthy food. Today, there are so many wise people helping us. They say you change your food, take right food, sattvic food. The food should be, I'll not elaborate. I'm not an expert, though I myself in the last few months am taking guidance from a certain advisor in Kolar near Bangalore. And he has studied, he has done a lot of research. For us, I have been diabetic. And he says, Swamiji, I will tell you one diet, follow that. It will give you enough nutrition, but it will bring your blood glucose down and you will be more energetic. You will not feel sleepy at the wrong time. You will not be, feeling like postponing something to be done. Many of these are not by because of the mind only. It is the wrong food that you have eaten which can make you feel sleepy, which can make you feel weak, which can make you feel like postponing things, etc. So Annam is talked about. Annam is one of these 15 factors. For heaven's sake, even when we are young, some of us realize after crossing 60, alas, even at young age, if people do not compromise on the quality of food, food has to be nutritious, food has to give us all the energy, but it should not cause any damage to any of our organs, our systems. Then Annam is mentioned, Balam is mentioned, Apahav, drink enough water. Don't allow yourself to be dehydrated. Tejaha, there must be enough for the fire principle. Ayurveda talks about Kapha, Vata, and Pitta. Pitta is the Tejaha. And like that, many items, everything ends finally in the 15th factor called Prana. Prana is when you water the deepest roots of the whole plant. That is, when you nurture what you are on a very deep level, only one notch below the pure self. Shuddha Atma of the moksha-shāstra is above all this discussion. We said already. Personality development is a certain domain, and Atma-jnana and Atma-nishta is a cut above the personality development. Personality development pales into insignificance if you and I, by God's grace, are able to appreciate what is Satchit Ananda, what is Satyam Dhanam Anantam Brahma. There is a domain, there is a plane of the purest self-knowledge, Atma Jnana, Atma Vichar, or Ramana Maharshi's question, who am I? That is a plane way above. But one notch below, there is a vast domain where a number of things matter. And these 15 factors, starting with Anna, ending with Prana, are a portion of Upanishads where so much is discussed on our becoming stronger, healthier, nobler, and effective in everything that we do. Who doesn't want it? Let me pause here and welcome or invite questions, comments, etc. Namah Paramarishibhyo, Namah Paramarishibhyaha.
Pranam Punya Swamiji.
Namaste, please speak. Dr. Ram Pai.
Yes. Thank you for your beautiful teachings. But I have 3 words you mentioned. I have some questions on it.
Please.
Sankalpa, my understanding was you said some free will. Will this be considered as sankalpa?
I said Sankalpa is resolve,
Resolve.
deciding.
The free will is not synonymous with sankalpa?
Actually, it goes with free will. And this personality development generally is taking free will to be true. In the moksha-shāstra, free will is questioned.
Correct.
In moksha-shāstra, it is sharanagati in bhakti language.
Right. But this is on a vyavaharika level.
It is. Today's webinar is more on the vyavaharika plane, where rightly or wrongly, we take free will to be valid. It's in my hands. My future is in my hands. How can I behave more carefully today? That is the starting point.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Number 2, second one is you mentioned about dhyanam.
Yeah.
Does that go along with nididhyasana? Here, when we're talking about dhyanam, we're talking about dhyanam on the Brahman. Is it?
Actually, Shankaracharya doesn't take it to that level. He says, Shastrokta Devata Vishesheshu. There are so many Devatas, God or divine forms. And so it is the context of upāsana, one notch, if not several notches below, Shravana Manana Nidhyasana of Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi.
Okay.
So that is moksha-shāstra.
Okay.
Yeah, this is dharma-shāstra actually. What we have talked today is dharma-shāstra. Shankaracharya in his commentary on Gita right at the beginning says all Vedic teachings belong to 2 levels. He doesn't use the word moksha and dharma. There he uses the words nivritti dharma, higher, pravritti dharma. And I would say to you, today's topic is totally in pravritti dharma.
Okay.
Pravritti is we believe in our free will. We believe we are running the show. And the question is how we can run the show wisely. So Shankaracharya calls the movement from sakama karma to nishkama karma is pravritti, taught by scriptures. Because the scriptures don't have to tell us do sakama karma. That comes to us for our benefit, for our pleasure, for our gratification. We are always clever enough. But nishkama karma, we need Gita. To learn nishkama karma, Sri Krishna's instructions come very handy. Therefore, Shankara says whole lot is about movement from sakama to nishkama, that is pravritti dharma. Then, upon getting high degree of viveka and vairagya, we should move over to the upper, further up, that is nivritti dharma. Question your doership, question the whole bondage, and do atma chintana. So, nididhyasana comes in on that higher plane. Here it is more of strengthening the muscles of your values, value muscles.
Okay, thank you. Next question is about chitta, you said. Chitta is synonymous with intellect, discriminatory intellect?
Yes, but special focus is on intelligence rather than intellect. The difference is intellect is many a time or most of the time synonymous with lot of very relevant and valued information we have collected. Intelligence sort of defies the boundaries of that information. Intelligence, in a manner of saying, goes more with insight, creativity. The person whose intelligence is awakened, prapta kala anurupa, as Shankaracharya said, at the right time, certain spark of intelligence came in us, and we are ourselves surprised. My God, this I never read anywhere, but today, as I was pondering this problem, a certain new idea came.
Oh, okay.
Where did it come from? So it is something like intelligence, intuition, insight, creativity. So in this context, Shankaracharya has connected it with that. Somewhere else, chitta is smriti rupa. Mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta of the four. Smriti rupa vicharaha, smriti rupa vrittihi, chittam. Aham karomi. Last question.
Last question. You never mentioned about Bhuma.
Bhuma is later on, 23rd section onwards.
Oh, okay.
The first 15 sections don't come anywhere near Bhuma.
Okay.
These 15 and then some 17 more components which are sahayaka, helpful to Atma Chintana, bring us to Sukha. And then Sanat-Kumāra says, there is no Sukha in anything that is limited. True Sukha is only in the infinite.
Okay.
Yadalpam tad nalpe sukham asti. In the alpa there is no sukha. Yo vai bhuma tat sukham. Then he gives just in 3 or 4 mantras, moksha-shāstra is covered in this chapter.
Okay, thank you.
Going by number of mantras is somewhat injustice, it seems. But we should not bother about number of mantras. Those 3 or 4 mantras are so wonderful. The definition of bhuma. Since you have said this beautiful question, let's have next webinar in this series on what is Bhuma. We'll take those 3 or 4 mantras. It's a lot of food for thought on the higher plane.
Thank you, Swami.
Welcome. Please, others also may make comments or ask questions.
Harivam Swamiji, Subramaniam.
Yes.
Just a comment, and almost to be Patanjali Yoga Sutras also outline that 8 steps. Some of this looks like, you need to develop a niyamas, which seems to be the most important part of that. Which is more important? Is it dhyana that should be slowing of the mind, practice more in a period of time that gives you control over speech and lead to a lot of other things we talked about, that is chitta suddhi and all this. If I have to choose one practice that will be central to modifying everything, is it dhyana?
No, you cannot choose just one. Just as any nutritionist would say, your food should have these 4 or 5 components, some carbohydrate, some protein, and what else, the 3 or 4 things, some fat, so whatever proportion. All 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 items have to be there, some vitamins, some minerals. Just as a nutritionist will not permit you to go for just one item for next whole 30 days. Rather, every day you need to have a balanced food. Here too, say little dhyana, a little speech, what you call refinement of speech, making it get more aligned with truth, and some resolving. Do I suffer from a certain inability to take the right decision? When I have to take the right decision, do I look left and right and waste time? I just go by what some friend said to me. Some friend comes and praises me and then says, do this. Because he praised me, I became so as though beholden to him and just follow whatever he says. If I recognize that kind of weakness in myself, I better tell myself next time somebody comes and praises, I should decide inside my mind. Just because he praises me, I'm not going to agree to whatever at the end he asks of me. So then your Sankalpa Shakti improves. Therefore, all these, if not all 15, 4 or 5 which you are heart resonates with. Yes, this is where I need to get better. So 4 or 5 or 3 or 4, you should take and keep an eye on them. Everywhere life is composite. So it's like suppose somebody asks in a car, what is important? Tires are important, or engine is important, steering wheel is important. All of them are important for a car to run very well. If somebody says brakes are not so important, brakes is okay, we'll look at them later. If brakes are not working at the right time, you may not be able to stop the car and the accident happens. So, like a car, like this nutrition. So, our personality is a whole, therefore, holistic approach. But the saving grace is none of us needs to get scared. Oh my God, there are so many things to look into. No, we take 3 or 4 and focus on them and stay open. Other things come up, and as they come up, we must not run away from them. We must tackle them.
Thanks so much.
Being open to learning is a great value everywhere, in mundane matters, in spirituality too. Yes, Ravindra Murthy wants to say something. Mic on ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
Namaskara, Swamiji. Pranams to all. I just could not resist, so please bear with me.
We have been bearing with you. You were going to take it to some Atmajnana level now. We know what you are going to do.
I was just going to say that I simply could not resist. Mr. Pai brought up the issue of Bhuma. That same chapter, it has given such a profound mantra that I'm sure you'll be sharing with us at some point in the future, but I thought I would just bring it up. Yatra na anyat pashyati, na anyat shrunoti, na anyat vijanati, sabhuma. And then he says, aham eva idam sarvam, atmata eva idam sarvam. Such profound mantras. And our Vedantas have also not only given us these doctrines, but have also given us a method to cognize them as facts of life. That's the beauty of the Veda. I thought I just could not resist. So I'm sorry that I had to.
No. Thank you for saying this. And probably you will have a little more to say when we will have a webinar on Bhuma itself. We welcome you to add your 2 cents to the proceedings of the webinar. Thank you for saying it. No, not at all irrelevant, though it is not the main focus here. Main focus is the self-improvement. Okay, then in the chat box, I think I don't think there is any question there, but some people have written something. There are greetings only. Namaste, Pranam, Gurubhyo Namaha, and so on. I reciprocate your greetings.
Last comment, Swamiji. This is a discussion between 2 brothers, anyhow.
Yeah. Devarshi Nārada also is son of Brahma. And yeah, the 4 Sanaka Sanandana, these 4, they are also sons of Brahma. You are right. I didn't think of it. They are brothers. Their father is one. And all of them, I guess, are Manasa Putras.
Correct.
Out of the mind of Lord Brahma, Narada was born. And these 4 brilliant boys were born who refused. Brahma himself, it seems, requested them, go multiply and run the show of the world. They said, we have a better business than that. Sanaka Sanandana, Sanat and Sanatana, they decided to be in the Nivritti Marga, for which they were very competent. All those who decide on Nivritti Marga don't have to succeed. But if they are competent, it's a wonderful story. Yeah. Thank you for commenting that they are brothers actually. Mental sons, Manasa Putra, Chaturmukha Brahmas. Wonderful friends, it was a great pleasure sharing these thoughts with all of you. We'll meet again, another webinar in 2 weeks. Namaste. Wish you happy Shivaratri. Namaste.
Namaste, Chidanand.
Okay, namaste, namaste.